Dead Space is fairly old, yet it's my first horror game. Ever. And I loved it. So of course, I needed a way to express this love at first sight. To achieve that, I scoured the internet to steal ideas as every good content creator does, and what do I see? Hundreds of questions about which guns are good or when they should be used. Great! Target acquired, mission is a go. So here we are, together, with you probably leaning back as you sip on a cup of coffee to prepare yourself to storm my comments after I call your favorite weapon trash. One thing to note though, I'm rating weapons by themselves. No combinations, meaning no stasis and X weapon, I'm just rating X weapon, which stasis is a part of together with kinesis. Now back to trash. F tier is for guns that just aren't good at what they're trying to do and are outclassed by every single weapon in the game. And for me, there's only one gun in here, and that's the contact beam. I'm sorry, the gun is just trash. Look, realistically, I could place this gun in B tier, but I'm not because the upgrade path for this weapon is so absolutely horrendously garbage. Just smell the mess that is wasting 4 power nodes before you can get anything remotely useful on this weapon, because you sure as hell don't need the extra damage on a tank stopper. Moreover, this is one of the few guns in the game you cannot use by itself. It needs either stasis or a space creating weapon like the force gun to set it up. And beyond that, the thing is single target. You know what, now that I think about it, this gun is just F tier even without the upgrades. Ask yourself this: when is the last time you survived a necromorph attack and thought to yourself, man, I really wish I had the contact beam for that scenario? The only useful time I can see you using this weapon is against a brute or against one of those tall guys that spawn the limbs. You know what I'm talking about. And even then, you would only be using it to save the ammo of your other weapon, because you're sure as hell not using it against the enhanced soldiers in Chapter 9. Also, if you're not fully charging the gun, you're wasting your time, which you're doing either way by using the weapon, and you'll be better off using the upgraded plasma cutter. But if you don't fully charge it, you just don't get enough damage and it's not worth it. And then the plasma cutter does almost as much single target damage, if not more, and it fires more quickly as well. So the one thing that this gun is good at is actually not needed for, and that's why this weapon is down in F tier. On to better things. Now, the guns in B tier, they are decent at what they do, but they still are outclassed and they have some major flaws, like for example, maybe their second fighting mode is completely useless. So pulse rifle, B tier. Okay, hold on, all you pulse rifle fanboys, before you write your little comments, hear me out. I really adore this weapon. As a matter of fact, I used it for the majority of the game and it saved my life countless times. And not only that, it can be used on many different enemy types and it even makes short work of brutes, meaning it's one of the few guns in the game that could solo carry you through the Dead Space experience, much like the plasma cutter. However, after trying out all the other weapons in the game, I have to place it in B tier. The gun is great for when you're getting jumped, but there are simply better options to deal with scenarios like that. And in addition, it lacks precision, making it waste a ton of ammo when you're trying to dismember limbs and such, with the upside to that being that you will also find a lot of ammo for this weapon. But the one place you really want to use its second fighting mode is when you're getting chased by the swarm of little hands or limbs, yet it doesn't even work on those, thus making the second fighting mode kind of useless since the first mode already works when you're getting rushed. So really, the only reason you're using this weapon is as a spray and pray stopgap for necromorphs that are charging you and then switching over to a different weapon that can more easily take out the aliens. And for that, although I love the weapon, it's a B tier at best. Up next, the flamethrower. A powerful weapon that's being held back by 2 things, in my opinion. One, it's short range only, so you could never finish the game using just the flamethrower. And second, this gun is just always out of ammo. Shooting it takes too much, and I don't know if my save file is corrupted or anything, but I almost never find this ammo type laying around either, making sure that the weapon is just sitting in my inventory red 80% of the time. What I will give the weapon though, is that it stops just about any enemy in the game from doing anything to you, since they all burn like paper, which could have something to do with their bodies being dead, but the lore guys would know more about that. However, again, it wastes too much ammo doing this, whereas something like the force gun does what the flamethrower does, but then with one shot. And for those 2 reasons, although the concept is cool and the weapon is powerful, this gun is in B tier. Up next, we got the Rippers, another B tier gun, which could arguably be a low A tier weapon. The concept of the weapon is extremely cool, and it's the best weapon in the game for dealing with a funnel coming from one direction. However, that's just not the case most of the time. It's hard to move around while you're fighting a weapon, making it easy for the necromorphs to rush you from all sides. And that's sad because if you stop fighting, you lose all of the leftover duration on your shot, effectively wasting a saw blade. Moreover, to really make use of this weapon, you have to space yourself correctly or you'll find yourself overshooting and not dealing any damage. And yet, the thing I hate the most about this weapon is that if you have it in your inventory, it seems to just take over all the ammo RNG in the game, making you only find Ripper ammo, which sucks since you don't use it that often anyway. So yeah, the Ripper, it's a B tier in my book. In A tier and above live all the weapons that are simply the best at what they do and where you almost feel like you miss out if you don't use them. So the first member, the line gun. Some of you may be looking funny right now thinking that, oh, the line gun should have been an S or even S+. But remember, I'm judging the weapon by itself, no combinations. That said, the line gun with stasis is the absolute best weapon combination in the game, above even the plasma cutter and stasis. I can't even fathom doing impossible mode on Dead Space without this setup because it just saves you so much ammo and one-shots so many enemies in the game. It's not even funny. However, that's a discussion for a whole other video, which I also plan on making, so sub for that if you want to see it, and while you're down there, leave a like on the video if you enjoy it. But for now, back to the weapon. The line gun is truly one of the most powerful weapons in the game, probably even out-damaging the contact beam, making the weapon crazy efficient at cutting off limbs, going as far as to dismember a brute in 1 or 2 hits. Following that though, the second firing option is only really useful when combined with stasis, since most enemies in the game are going to outrange the mine by the time it goes off without it. Maybe you could use it on those guys getting their cancer infested ballsack on like Randy, but that's really the only scenario. However, the weapon is simply too powerful either way and can save your other weapons a ton of ammo, so it still lives in A tier. Up next we got Kinesis, A tier. I don't have much to say on Kinesis other than, well, it's Kinesis. I barely use it for killing necromorphs other than those few times you grab an explosive and bomb the living crap out of what's in front of you, which is great for those wall cranes by the way. Beyond that, it allows you to check if necromorphs are dead. That isn't valuable since it saves you ammo, and you can grab items from miles away, making life so much easier. It's almost S tier just for that, just for allowing me to be lazy. So yeah, Kinesis. In S tier live all the weapons that are so good you simply must have them in your inventory in every single setup. The only justifiable reason not to have these would be if you just want to rock a different weapon. That's it. So Force Gun, S tier. This gun has the most beautiful upgrade path of any weapon in the game, unlike its unwanted cousin in the contact beam. I mean, let's just all take a second to admire the first 3 power nodes you spend on this gun. Alright, now let's get serious. This is the absolute best space creating gun in the game. Once you unlock this, you are never ever again getting caught lacking by a group of necromorphs. Not only that, it's even capable of killing them if you upgrade the damage just a little bit. I think 1 or 2 nodes is enough, and then aim at the ground. But that's not what the weapon is used for. There's even a mine option on the second fighting mode, which I'll be honest, I never even used, but you could use it to replace the line gun, sort of, but not really because the line gun's mine is still way better. And I almost wanted to place this weapon in S+, since it just allows you to laugh at the hunter while he sits there regenerating his limbs time and time again. But if I did that, then I would also have to place the next weapon in S+, which to no one's surprise is gonna be the plasma cutter. The only reason that the Force Gun doesn't outclass the plasma cutter is because the plasma cutter has range. I already hear knocking on my door, so let me get out what I want to say before I get dismembered. I don't have much to say on the plasma cutter other than it's an absolute beast of a weapon. You can complete the entire game using only the plasma cutter, which cannot be said for almost any other weapon on this list except for the pulse rifle, but the pulse rifle is just so much more inferior that it's not even a conversation. The plasma cutter, it hits heavy non-upgraded and even heavier when you upgrade its damage, creating a monstrosity of a weapon that kills in 1 or 2 shots and has the fire rate of an Uzi. Beyond that, it's precise, which makes it even harder to aim, but for that you have the second firing mode, and no, I'm not gonna comment on which mode is better because that's a war I'm not ready for. Feel free to talk about it in the comments though. Yet I cannot place it in S+ because there's one other thing that lives in S+ that's simply too broken, and that's stasis. In my opinion, stasis is without debate the absolute best weapon in the game, way better than the plasma cutter. The comparison could even be unfair because stasis is more of an ability than a weapon, but for this list we're counting it as a weapon, and this single weapon opens up the gateway for so many other guns, creating so many possibilities. I mean, it even makes the contact beam an A-tier weapon. That should be enough said. Needless to say, this is the most busted thing in the game and saves you so much ammo and health if used correctly. Moreover, this thing can hit multiple targets if aimed well, upping its versatility even more. This is the one thing in the game that separates beginners from veterans. You can immediately judge a player's skill level based on how they use or do not use stasis. When I just started Dead Space, I almost never used it, and now after starting my Dead Space 2 journey, I'm using it in every other fight. If I could choose one thing to fight necromorphs with in real life, it would be stasis, because I'm not dumb enough to try and shoot at these aliens. I would simply slow them and run away. That's it for the video, guys. Like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see me rant about the best weapon combination in my next video, and prepare yourself for some Dead Space 2 content as well, because I am really enjoying Dead Space and I'm not letting this game franchise go.